Did y'all know that the Trump administration has officially stopped SNAP benefits and Medicaid benefits for the month of November? Go and do your research. It is intentional, I believe, because what better way to get the Democrats to move than to try to get rid of some of those social programs around the holiday and force people to make the Democrats vote the way the Republicans want them to vote.
Breaking news, House Republicans have passed the budget bill. Here's what this means and here's what's in the bill. Moments ago, the budget bill passed, which means that $930 billion in Medicaid cuts will be made. Hundreds of billions of dollars in SNAP benefits will be cut. Many Affordable Care Act subsidies will end or expire. ICE will soon become the nation's largest law enforcement agency, with more employees than the Bureau of Prisons. There will be increased funding for the Department of Defense. Tax cuts for the top 1%. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the top 1% will benefit the most. The bottom 10% will benefit the least. It's over. The bill is heading to the president's desk. This is not going back to the Senate. They passed this bill. Donald Trump will sign it potentially as soon as today, but likely over the next day or so before the 4th of July weekend. Some of these cuts will take effect immediately. Others won't take effect until after the November 2026 midterm elections. The deficit will be raised. The debt will be raised by trillions of dollars as well. This is real, and it just happened. So I wanted to let you know. Follow along for more.
So MAGA Christians all over social media just losing their minds celebrating SNAP benefits being cut.
Let's stop for a minute. Can anyone actually be happy about this? I mean, imagine people being happy that their food assistance is being cut. This category included children and veterans. And it's very hard for me to imagine how people would be happy about this. Only someone who isn't in this category at all and doesn't care could be happy about it.
Meanwhile, the Satanic Temple has for a long time been running a program called the Satanic Good Works, which is focused on community centers and donation drives and so forth. And they have stated that they will continue feeding the hungry and the poor in this country. So do with that what you will.
November 1st, 42 million people in this country will have their food assistance benefits, known as SNAP, cut off.
President Trump says he will not tap into a contingency fund of $5 billion to keep SNAP running.
Good morning, Pee-wee. Good morning, Mr. Breakfast.
That is because of an apparent violation of the law by the Trump administration.
Can I have some Mr. Cheese cereal? Okay.
This guy has almost no food left. And what do you think? At that very moment, they pass a bill to reduce funding for food products. Food. You see, it's a pretty bad situation when a guy who already has no food, this was his only hope, and it just failed. I think, on the contrary, this should have been developed and improved. But here, it's such incompetence.
Unbelievable. We just found out that House Republicans are directly lying to their constituents about whether or not their big, ugly bill cuts SNAP. You'll remember that last week, House Republicans passed a bill that would strip nutritional assistance from millions of Americans. But at least one Republican House member, in this case Jefferson Van Drew of New Jersey, is claiming something totally different in letters to his constituents.
This is a huge level of nerve because a Republican representative tells people that no one is cutting anything. Even though, in fact, ordinary people see that it's all a lie. Their food stamps are being cut, and they feel it. I think it's a huge level of cynicism when over the last 10 years, everything was cut by literally $290 billion.
In the letter, he claims that it's a fiction that SNAP benefits are being slashed, and that the fact is that SNAP remains fully funded and intact under Republicans' legislation. And this is pretty hard to square with the fact that the bill very clearly cuts supplemental nutritional assistance by 30%. In fact, by just under $290 billion over 10 years. How can anyone call that intact? That's like your boss saying that your paycheck is intact, even after he cuts it by a third. The answer is simple. Republicans are lying. They're pretending that their bill won't cut services because they don't use the word cut a lot, even though the bill contains all kinds of provisions that achieve exactly that. One example is their expansion of SNAP's already harsh and ineffective work requirements. Nearly 11 million people live in households that could lose at least some of their food assistance because of that provision, including about 4 million children and 500,000 adults over 65. Republicans understand perfectly well that work requirements don't add to employment, they just lead to cuts. And after all, remember, if they didn't lead to cuts, they wouldn't be saving any money in the bill. Another sneaky Republican trick, hiding cuts behind something called cost sharing. Because for the first time ever in this bill, they want states to cover between 5 and 25% of the costs of SNAP. But states can't afford this. So if a state can't make up for these massive federal cuts with tax increases or spending cuts elsewhere in its budget, it would have to cut its SNAP program or eliminate it completely. I'd say that qualifies as a cut, wouldn't you? But there's more sneakiness. Republicans also want to prevent benefits from keeping up with food costs by restricting access to something called the Thrifty Food Plan. This basically means that as food prices get higher, SNAP will give you the same amount of money, so you'll have less money every year. But it's not a cut. Of course, all of these are cuts, so let's talk about who's going to be hurt by them. Senior citizens, grandparents.
The consequences of these cuts are just incredible. Just imagine that. This category includes veterans who once served, children, and also seniors. Children who receive free lunches in schools, they just won't be able to get them anymore. I think it's some kind of total moral failure. It's just terrible.
Parents, also veterans, people experiencing homelessness, and former foster youth. Also people living in areas that just don't have sufficient jobs. Oh, and farmers, they'll lose about $30 billion in farm revenue. But y'all, it's children who will suffer the most, because when kids lose access to SNAP, they lose their free school meals as well. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of children who are going to go hungry at home and at school. Oh, and did I mention that Republicans also want to change the definition of who qualifies as a dependent from someone under 18 to someone under 7. So if you're a single parent of an 8-year-old, you have to go to work and leave him at home alone or lose your food assistance. Analysts say this will lead to about 800,000 parents of school-aged children losing their SNAP benefits. But in spite of all of this, Republicans are telling constituents SNAP remains fully funded. No, actually, I would say there is a fact about what remains fully funded and intact under the legislation, but it's not SNAP. It's tax cuts for the wealthy, which are not just fully funded in this bill, but expanded and made permanent. After all, Republicans know which side their bread is buttered on. Of course, they have bread. Millions won't be so lucky if Republicans pass this harmless bill.
Congratulations, Republicans! So exciting! Here's your favorite or not so favorite European anti-MAGA lady. It just passed. 215 voted for the bill and 214 against it. So you got it. The cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP went through. It passed. I'm so excited for you. Like, seriously, like, you made it. You made it. It's gonna be so great for you guys. It's gonna be amazing. Like, keep up the good work, MAGAs. So, yeah, more people will be suffering. More people will not be able to afford medication, a doctor, food. Y'all are pro-life, right? Oh, I forgot. So the cuts to SNAP, since y'all are pro-life, hey, let's take the kids more food away. Oh, so excited. Like, congratulations.
21,000 veterans, by the way, were on SNAP in Massachusetts. So the president took away food for veterans, too. I wish Donald Trump would drop the appeal to the Supreme Court and let those SNAP benefits flow, but I'm going to do everything I can to take care of people here. Our leaders in Washington need to do their jobs, and until then, I'm going to do everything I can every day to fight for people's access to food, to housing, to health care, and to what they need for the economic security for their families.
The government shutdown isn't the reason that people are losing their SNAP benefits or their ACA subsidies. It's because MAGA Republicans decided to cut them when they passed Trump's big bullshit bill. Because apparently making sure that Americans have food and health care is considered scary socialism, but $117 billion in tax cuts to billionaires and corporations is just good policy.
They tell us that tax breaks for the wealthy will somehow help ordinary people. But how can they even help?
In what way?
When we see people being laid off from work, their food stamps being cut. I mean, everything is going downhill. I think it's some kind of totally crazy policy where only the ordinary person loses.
You guys do know the purpose of those tax cuts is to benefit employees by doing things like raising wages and creating new jobs. Instead, we're paying out bonuses to CEOs and they're importing AI technology they can't fucking afford thanks to Trump's tariffs at the cost of new jobs. In fact, we're losing jobs. 48,000 at UPS, 30,000 at Amazon, 20,000 at Intel, 16,000 at Nestle. But I'm not surprised, right? Because these are the same people that tried to convince us that immigrants were taking American jobs. And after 10 months of watching ICE turn into the fucking Gestapo, unemployment is up all across the country. But I'm going to give you credit, MAGA. I actually agree and support the idea of cutting SNAP benefits and ACA subsidies. I think we should be requiring all of these corporations to pay their employees a fucking living wage so they don't have to rely on government assistance. Fun fact, most economists will tell you that a living wage in this country is somewhere between $40,000 and $62,000 depending on the state that you live in. The state that requires the lowest minimum wage is my home state of West Virginia, where you would need an annual salary of $40,415. That equates to about $19.43 an hour. Federal minimum wage is $7.25. Take a wild guess on which party consistently votes against raising the minimum wage while telling us that billionaires aren't the fucking problem. So let me say it again for you. The government shutdown is not the reason you're losing your SNAP benefits and your ACA subsidies. Stop fucking voting for people who protect billionaires. It's not that hard.
Starting on Monday, SNAP benefits will end for people.
Well, that's their choice. That's a Republican choice.
The money's actually there, and this is Trump's conscious choice. Yes, exactly his. He's the one who came up with cutting food stamps. And all this money goes to the wealthy and rich people. And poor and ordinary people are left to just fight for these crumbs. What's more important, medical care or food stamps? I think it's time to open our eyes to all of this.
Trump choice.
How is it their choice?
There's plenty of money right now actually in the accounts of the SNAP, the food stamp world, the food stamp government, the people that run it, if they wanted to do it, right? But what they want to do now is they want to basically pit the poor people that are on the food stamps against the middle class people that are on the Affordable Health Care Act, and basically say, let's figure out how to get these people to fight each other so both the Republicans and Donald Trump could screw them both. Well, that's what happens at the end of all of this.
Is that, I mean, does it, you have to weigh the needs of your constituents. How many people in Arizona get SNAP benefits, do you know?
We're probably closer to around 900,000.
900,000 people, okay. And going into, the Thanksgiving month, it's all about food. It's all about bounty.
This is all done artificially to make people fight each other. What's more important, food stamps or health care? And they're doing a pretty good job of it. Because while people are fighting among themselves about what's more important, these other rich people are just stealing this money. And I think our country is wealthy enough to just provide everyone with everything. I think there are plenty of resources here. We just need a good, kind, and true leader.
And the healthcare at the same time. It's a false choice, though, isn't it? Shouldn't we be able to do both?
It is a false choice. And like in a great country like ours, you can do both, right? With great leaders, you can do both. We don't have a great leader in the White House right now, right? That's just a fact. And a country of ours, as rich as ours, we can say you can have affordable health care insurance, or you're going to be able to feed your family. But we have a man that wants to split us more than he wants to unite us and actually take care of us. Mm-hmm. That's the problem that we have right now. And instead of actually being a leader, he's off going overseas to get an affirmation from all these other countries that he is a leader. The best way to be a leader for this country is actually be here and lead. You don't need a crown to prove that.
I'm curious to know what you think. And if you agree with me, please share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel. It'll be interesting.